It's a new Kirblog on the Kenshin anime, and the live-action movie had just come out, but I couldn't just do it all alone, so I asked Micah Solusod to join me. Not bad? Not bad?
Oro.
But that's appropriate. Welcome everybody. Hi. Oh my God. We're doing Animepril 2017 continues forth today. If you could not guess, or if you didn't grow up with Toonami and Cartoon Network in the mid 2000s or whatever, I think Sci-Fi Channel or whatever the hell it was that Samurai X was on. We're talking about Rurouni Kenshin today. Hey. I'm joined by another first-time guest that I'm actually, much like what I said about Mariana, I'm ashamed that it took so, because what I met you in, 2010, 9 or 10, I think, something like that?
A while ago, yeah. 9, yeah.
Yeah, and I've not had the good Mr. Micah Solusod with me today on a Kirblog, but thank you for joining in between the 7,000 things you're probably doing lately.
No, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It was quite appropriate because I was very happy to kind of open this up with to hear, I guess I forget if it was when the announcement was exactly, but that you had the pleasure of getting to voice Kenshin Humura in the English dub of the recent live-action Kenshin movies, which I'm very happy to see because I know that you've been a big Kenshin fan forever.
Yes.
So that was very gratifying to see.
Honestly, it's a bigger deal than it's really made out to be, but I'm happy about it nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to have someone on who knew and remembered this series as fondly as I did. So I actually want to start with you first. Can you give a brief history on your kind of connection with this series? Like, how did you first get into it, and your early memories of it, etc.?
Oh man, so I was in middle school, and like the first Toonami, as you said, was airing at the time. They were playing cool things like Trigun and Cowboy Bebop and Outlaw Star, and I was just watching TV one day, and I don't know if you remember, but like the old like bumpers and trailers were narrated by Peter Cullen.
Oh yeah, the
voice of Optimus Prime, and I'm a huge Transformers fan too. So I was like, clicking through, and I heard Peter Cullen's voice, and I'm like, well, that's cool. I haven't heard this in a while. And he was promoting something called Rurouni Kenshin, and I was like, well, if Optimus Prime says I have to watch it, then surely I have to do it. I have to obey. And so I checked it out, and I was like, this is kind of, I've never really seen anything like this before. Like, he's not the typical hero. He's kind of goofy and weird, but then when he needs to fight and kick some ass, he does. So yeah, it was one of those things where it's like I watched one episode, and then the next week I was like, okay, I need to check this out more. I'm very curious, and then it became an addiction. I found the manga, I found the anime, and I just bought all of it.
Now, had you seen like a lot? I know I can't even fully keep track of like the order of what the deal is with like some of these OVAs and like side movies and like retellings and things like so my history with the show is actually quite the same. I did eventually pick up the manga because I remember borrowing a friend of mine in middle school, similarly enough, had the box sets of the uncut stuff because I believe that there were some mild re-recordings and some censorship on.
The OVAs?
No, of the series.
Oh, nice.
And I believe they only aired up until the end of the New Kyoto Shishio stuff. Yeah. And then, and little did I know that all the stuff after that in the original anime series was not canon to the manga and was all this weird fillery stuff that was very strange.
Very
strange. I watched through that and I was just like, all right, sure. And then I had heard, I think, like through some early sites about how like, there was this true final arc that from the manga, and I think that some of the OVAs had covered some of it, the stuff with Enishi,
yes.
And
Reflection.
and so I had not seen, I couldn't keep track of like what movies were what or what. I didn't know what that stuff was. So I remember I just started picking up the manga from the end of when Shishio was defeated, and so I have all of the final arc collected in manga form.
Oh, nice.
And then I believe I also picked up the New Kyoto OVA, like a recent one that I think Sentai Filmworks
Sentai.
dubbed, which I saw. which is funny because it has people in it that are in the dub of the Funimation live-action movie dub, which is as different characters, which anime is weird. But
it's very interesting.
Yeah, and then I just watched the Origins live-action movie like literally the other week and really liked it a lot.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's super solid. So yeah, that was kind of my history. So actually, you know what? So I do remember this is kind of a new kind of opening and ending to my history. So I remember there was a guy I knew in middle school who I remember he described to me as Rurouni Kenshin. He seemed, as I understand later, very misinformed. Like, no, dude, Rurouni Kenshin is just like the wimped out like for babies version of Samurai X. And I'm like, what? And I only knew like Samurai X was some kind of alternate title for it, and I was like, okay, I didn't even know like what that meant. And then years later, I didn't even realize that there was a whole nother dub of the Kenshin series where like the names were different. It was a lot of the same actors and stuff, but some of them were switched around.
Yeah.
I had no idea of this because I was seeing like other actors listed for like some of the characters on different sites, and I was like, wait, that's not right. Derek Stephen Prince wasn't Sanosuke. And then I'm finding clips, and okay, I want to put this out here too, and I you know, this is just to be objective about our business from over 10 years ago. I hear a lot of people kind of rip on the dub of Kenshin. And I watched the first episode actually shortly before we were recording again. I can definitely admit it's old. It's an old dub. It's certainly not awful. The little bits I've seen of Samurai X on the other hand. That stuff is bad.
You can watch all of it on Crackle too. Like that version is available on Crackle.
Yeah. No, I was finding, and then there's like comparisons of like the opening scene with like Kenshin and Kaoru, and I was like, this is weird. This is so weird.
Well, and like I think Richard Cancino played both versions of Kenshin.
Yeah, and I think that there were a couple. I think there were a couple characters that it was the same person because I think that weirdly enough, I think it was Bang Zoom that did the redub.
Yeah.
In like the really early days, before all of us young shitlins came in and ruined anime. So I didn't even know about that, and I guess Samurai X was. I'm assuming like when ADV, the artists formerly known as ADV before they became Sentai Filmworks, when they were doing a lot of the movies, I guess they kind of maybe used that name as just kind of like for brand recognition, or that's what it was known as in the U.S. Yep. But I completely missed that, and Kenshin was just as it is supposed to be, was my first exposure, and I'm glad for that. Because the way that it was meant to be seen, like this straight-up adaptation from the original story was, I mean, that there's nothing compares to that as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, my wife actually, she watched. She was traveling to Asia, and they had Samurai X. The legendary swordsman, catch it on Saturday mornings and stuff like that. And so she watched one episode, and then she came back to the States and she didn't know what it was called. And so for the longest time, she actually thought the story was about like Kaoru getting married to Gohei. And like it was like the main character, Samurai X, had to save her from Gohei and their weird marriage. And I'm like, I guess I could see that.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Is that one of the movies?
No, it was from the first episode. She watched Samurai X in the first episode of quote unquote Samurai X, and because of the way it was translated and the way it was put forth, it seemed like that was the plot.
Oh, that's wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Weird. Well, either way, I'm assuming you educated her later with the actual show proper.
Oh no, she got into it. She found it herself.
Yeah. So I guess I mean so you've been doing the VO thing now for I think close to 10 years. You've been in the biz now. Is that right? I think.
Just don't say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Oh God. Well, I mean, but like, I don't know. Because I was curious about like, was this like, I mean, I've talked before about how like some of these shows were kind of not even my like, oh, I want to be a voice actor, but like there were definitely things that got me like thinking about VO, like in particular, like Yu Yu Hakusho was like the show that got me like learning about that voice actors were even a thing. Was this a show that like even occurred to you about that stuff, or like was that not until something else, like before that or after that or anything like that?
I think it was the first time because, I mean, I grew up in Hawaii, so a lot of the anime that I ended up watching was already in Japanese. Mm-hmm. So hearing it in English, it was like, oh, so there are, people doing this here. They localize it, they translate it, they make it available for an American audience to enjoy without having to read subtitles. And I was like, that's really cool. So yeah, that was sort of like the first, as far as like dubbing was concerned. Like I always had an interest in voice acting, but I didn't realize like localization was a thing.
Mm-hmm. What was? I mean, did you think that you would ever have gotten the opportunity to be Kenshin? I mean, like all this time.
No,
like...
never. No, I was actually set out like my low level bucket list goal was I would like to be in a Kenshin related thing as something.
As
I don't care what. and then I ended up voicing Kenshin. I'm like, well, I guess I can retire now.
I'm done. Career over. Forget it. It's over.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I said that about Pokemon, and I didn't stop from there somehow. So, unfortunately. I guess so. Moving into the show itself. Any particular? I mean, it's so weird because like I remember when I was watching the Origin movie, which of course it certainly takes some liberties in kind of having to abridge a lot of the early stuff. Some of the early few arcs and everything, but from the moment we have the first interaction between Kenshin and Kaoru, which you and Alexis were wonderful as. I remember seeing that cast and I was just like, yep, perfect. I need to watch this now. I just immediately, I was like, yep, that's the characters. This is totally them.
Yes.
And her like forward, tell me what you're doing here, Glory. And Kenshin's like, oh no, run around. Oh God, please, even though I could literally slice your head off if this were 20 years ago.
Don't hurt me, you're a girl, you're confusing.
Yeah. Like just instantly, I was just taken right back, and it's crazy because like I vividly remember like so many things, and probably a lot of these episodes and a lot of these stories, I think I'd only ever seen once. I think a lot of them I'd probably rewatched when I borrowed the box sets from my friend at the time. But like every like major fight, like every major story beat, and et cetera, I remember distinctly like all this stuff and all of the characters. So are there any particular? I mean, I know that like the Shishio arc is like the big one that is like the thing for everybody. But are there any other particular like moments or one-off villains and stories, parts of the show that you really liked from when you were watching it?
I'd say the fight between Kenshin and Jin'ei was probably like, I thought that was extremely well done. And there are moments where you're like, if you pause like on that frame, on that shot, and like take out the manga, you'll be like, wow, that is like shot for shot the manga, And Jin'ei was just a frightening character in that movie. I really enjoyed that. I will say the one thing that I kind of wish that they did was a proper Kenshin versus Saito fight.
Yeah.
Because that is the pinnacle fight in the anime. Like there is no other fight scene within the entire series that was as well executed and directed and animated than that one.
Yeah, I mean like that's the, if all the stuff before that is like Dragon Ball era for Kenshin, and then like everything past that, like with like because like the Saito fight, it's the Goku versus Vegeta equivalent, and then everything after that is like, here's the Z portion of Kenshin.
Exactly. Yes. And then after the Kyoto arc, it's like, okay, we're traveling into GT territory, I suppose.
Well, for the show certainly.
For the anime, yeah. Oh, and from the manga's perspective, like it gets extremely like it improves significantly, I think.
It's so weird because I remember, the Enishi stuff when I finally saw that because I think I really only knew that Kenshin had, I forget if was she his wife when he was the Batosai?
More or less, yeah.
Or they were like betrothed at least. I knew that she was a character. Was it Tomoe? I think her name was, right?
Tomoe.
Yeah, Tomoe, and I knew her and Enishi. I didn't know any of the other villains. Of which it was funny kind of seeing a couple of them surprisingly mixed into the Origin movie. It was like, oh, okay, that wasn't a thing.
Banji, yeah.
They weren't working for Kanryu. And actually, Kanryu's, oh God, help me, Shinamori, Aoshi Shinamori's group, what were they?
Oh, the Oniwaban, yes.
The Oniwaban group, yeah. I loved them. I was sad to see them go for the movies. But they were a lot of fun, and I remember the kind of surprise with when Misao gets introduced later, and she was like the cute friend that all of them took care of, and it's like, oh, they were actually like they had like a soft side, and they're all desecrated and completely defeated now because Kanryu led them down the wrong path. Oh no.
It was so
no.
adorable seeing them as like these caretakers, like, you know, they're babysitting her as a child. And it's like you have Hanya in the demon mask, and it's like, that's oddly cute.
She's like, oh, good old Hanya with his gross-ass Oni face taking care of me. And I'm just like, oh no. But yeah, the stuff with Enishi later, like I remember seeing that. By that point, I remember with the manga, for at least the graphic novels collected together, they had these little comments from the author talking about how, like, all right, I think I've kind of gone towards the deep end now with some of the powers of these characters, because you know, seeing like I'm literally Venom, I'm literally Apocalypse.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh.
He's such a fanboy. Watsuki, like, he's blatantly... Actually, you're familiar with Takeshi Obata, right?
Yeah, of course.
He did Death Note and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Sonosuke's design is actually based off of an old manga that Obata did. It was like something called Lamp or whatever. And if you look for that manga, it is Sonosuke. And in one of the notes, he says that, like, he basically asked Obata, can I steal this design for my own series?
I mean, because I remember flat out he was like, Enishi is Vash from Trigun. He's just Vash as a bad guy.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, shit, I see it now. Why did you break that magic for me?
and like he will openly apologize and be like, no, yeah, this character, he's totally this character from this video game or this comic book. I am such a terrible person. I'm sorry.
I mean, look, I don't try to hide that with half the tone. I mean, like, Archie is just, he's a brown Link with a Peter Pan hat and a bow instead of a sword, for God's sake. I mean, I'm not trying to hide that.
Hey, a good artist steals from multiple places. You can't call that plagiarism.
Yes, I steal from Mega Man Battle Network and Dot Hack and not Sword Art Online. Everybody, thank you. Hey, I still haven't seen that show. Sorry, Alex, if you ever hear this.
I haven't either.
What? Oh,
what?
Whoa,
Someone's throwing
whoa,
things.
That's weird. Anyhow, yeah, no, it was really crazy seeing also, like, because it was years later. I had followed everything from beginning to end what they had aired on Cartoon Network. And then I think maybe like a year or so after it had finished airing, I borrowed those box sets. And then like several years later, maybe like sometime into like late high school, when I was starting to actually collect a lot more manga, me and a bunch of my friends, we were just like buying graphic novels like in bulk by that point. I remember seeing Kenshin was releasing, and I think that around that time they caught up to the new stuff, and it was like, you know what? I really liked the show. I want to see how it actually ends. Let me check this out. That Enishi arc is quite a ride. It's very out there.
Yeah, as far as like the monsters of the week per se, their powers were definitely out there. But having to see the context of like where Kenshin came from and his character development, I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I think the only thing that was like really kind of pushing it for me was the fake out Kaoru death with like the puppet. I was like, all right, that's pushing it just a little bit, dude. But I mean, all right, sure, whatever. We got to raise the stakes up a bit.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, totally.
Yeah. But it was really cool. Like the final fight with Enishi was super satisfying. I would like to see that animated in some form. I don't even know which OVA is that they did the Enishi stuff.
Reflection.
That's Reflection. Okay, maybe I'll watch that at some point. I'm kind of.
It's cool. I mean, like it redoes some of the things from the animated series in a more like realistic style. Like it does the Jinei fight, and it's one of my favorite like animated fights from the entire Kenshin series. But Watsuki was quoted in saying that he didn't really care for it, and not that it was bad. It was just too depressing.
It looks really dark, definitely.
No, my mom is a big Kenshin fan too, and she cried at the end of it. I was like, oh, come on.
Oh my god. That's like my mom loved Samurai Jack. That
nice.
was like funnily enough, yeah, that was like our show, hilariously.
Nice.
Kind of around the same time. Yeah, I realized that was like, because Kenshin was airing here, like early to mid 2000s, I think, on Toonami, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, wow, that's crazy. So yeah, it and Samurai Jack were both kind of in tandem, and they're both having resurgences. Weird. It's the year of Samurai.
Yes, need more Samurai.
Yeah, you know, on the note of Jinei as well, because I remember Jinei was cool when I saw him in the series, but this movie made me like him a lot more as like this big kind of like intimidating character, because I think the fact that like he got to be like the villain of the because Kanryu gets to be like hilarious and weird and over the top.
He's the mid boss. It's fine.
But like, or rather, he's like the final boss. But then like Gina is like the actual like post credits. Oh no! Oh shit! This is the real bad. Oh god! Yeah, that he's the true threat. And him getting to be that kind of like. And even what's Skullface guy's name from the Enishi stuff? He was in there. He has the cool fight with Kenshin. He had like the silver hair.
Gian?
Yeah.
Gian,
Yes.
Gain,
Yeah. Guyan or something. Yeah, him or him. That dude. Yeah, he was cool too.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
then
loved him.
and then the other guy who fought. But can I just say, by the way, that if you guys haven't seen Origin, the Kenshin Origin movie. Please, there's one scene in particular in the, I don't even want to spoil it, but there's a fight scene between Sanosuke and one of the villains, just in the middle of their fight, that is the funniest
Oh my god.
freaking
In
thing
the
I've
kitchen?
ever seen. Yeah.
Yes. It's so good.
See, okay, you know what? Because, and I really want to give it credit because, God, I've seen so few, like, live-action anime adaptation movies that really genuinely try to capture the spirit. Like,
Yes.
the last one that I saw was the Phoenix Wright movie, and to be fair, I will out myself. I did not see it legally, and I have not seen it with proper subtitles, so I feel like I haven't really experienced that movie. But when I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this enough, and it seems like it's got enough of like a sense of humor kind of going on that I can dig it. Like I said before, like as soon as that opening bit where like Kenshin's like, whoa, whoa, as he's like dodging away Kaoru, I'm just like, these are the characters. They clearly get like this is what they're about.
They get the character.
And having this funny thing in the middle of this fight with because like Sanosuke, I never realized Sanosuke is totally like, I think he was a little ahead of his time because I don't know if you've actually no, you probably have noticed this because I was just talking about I just recorded the Yuri on Ice Kirblog with Martin and Mariana. And I was talking about how Yurio is part of this new trend of like self-aware edgelord characters that when they're all like, I guess, and your reaction is not like, whoa, he's cool or whatever. It's now, aww. Like,
Precious.
Sanosuke, I realize, kind of is that like ahead of his time because he's just like, yeah, I wear evil on my back. And then he's like, I'm afraid of cameras. They take your soul. And I'm just like, you're a goof. I love you, Sanosuke.
Right? He's so good. Such a good, like he's a good secondary character, you know? Where you can root for him, but you know he's not going to win.
Yeah, I almost kind of wish, I think the only like, oh man, like kind of thing I had with the movie, which made sense, and I'm sure we'll probably get more into him later on, but was that Yahiko didn't have a whole lot of time to do much.
Yeah. I mean, I think in like, as far as like timing and being able to develop certain characters, it's better off that way.
Yeah.
But he definitely had better treatment in the manga, as far as that was concerned.
You know, I'm actually curious about something, because I've been asking this of a lot of folks that were like deeper into these things than I was. So I don't know if like you were like if you followed much of like the online fandom or anything like that, but like, so do Kenshin fans generally not like Yahiko? Like, was he kind of just like, oh great, the annoying kid relation?
Oh, I don't
character?
know. I actually don't know.
No?
I didn't, back when I was into Kenshin, I didn't really realize the internet was a thing.
Oh.
And so like it was just my group of friends and we really liked Kenshin.
Yeah.
But no, my friends didn't like Yahiko because they thought he was a brat.
I mean, he is, but you know.
He is, but that's his point. Yeah. And like I found him to be an interesting character because he would, by the Kyoto arc, he was growing. He was becoming a better character.
Yeah.
And by the time that the manga ended, he sort of became the main character for the spin-offs.
Yeah.
So I thought that his story was fascinating, but he wasn't necessarily a favorite, I have to admit.
Yeah, I mean, you know, well, it's funny. I'm finding that I'm in my older years now. My older years. I'm 28. I'm so old.
You're
not
ancient.
really. Yeah, totally. I'm finding that I'm having a softer spot for the kid relation type character. And actually, even as a kid, like I liked Gohan and DBZ growing up.
Same.
Yeah,
because you're supposed to relate with them.
Yeah, and even like around the American side, like I remember I liked Jade and Jackie Chan Adventures and characters like that. And I think because like Kenshin's kind of quality of like much like many good Shonen Jump heroes, he has that kind of infallible like I am who I am. I know what I'm all about by this point, especially because like what's interesting in Kenshin's case is that like his development, we don't see his real like journey of changing into a better person until that last arc when we get the flashback stuff.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, really, for the grand majority, I mean, he goes through highs and lows, but he has a really firm sense of who he is by the time of the story. We get introduced into the story, and like he meets Kaoru and everybody. Yahiko and like Kaoru and Sanosuke and a lot of the other ones, like they are the ones that have to go through their arcs, and it seems like they change because of their interactions with Kenshin. Like he's the one that comes in and is like, here, let me show you another way. Oh, I'm good now.
He's the moral compass, and everyone else sort of follows in that general direction.
Yeah. Well, except for the bad guys who then just die or get sent to jail or something.
There you go. Hey, Cho changged his mind.
That's true. That's true. That's true. I was happy to see that he lived by some miracle.
I'm so glad he became like the comedic relief for Saito.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, because he was in the Enishi stuff, wasn't he? In Combat?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Competent investigator. I loved it.
Yeah, and I mean, well, on the note of the villains too. I guess Saito. I mean, Saito was more. He was the Vegeta. You know, he was like,
yes,
I don't like you, but I have to do this with you because
begrudgingly
accept
you.
Yeah. I grew to like Saito a lot over time. I think, I think him being the stern guy, but still like having some funny moments, kind of as I often say, at his expense of like because everybody else is so wacky compared. Even like Sanosuke, who's not like super wacky, but just compared to Saito, he's wacky.
Oh, he's totally wacky. Yeah.
And Shishio, I remember because I remember when because we didn't often have the opening when Kenshin was airing on Toonami. It wasn't until it got moved to the Saturday non-Toonami, whatever that action block was. We didn't have the opening, so I was really only seeing a brief glimpse of this, who is this weird mummy guy in the
right,
exactly. The kind of, it was the Heart of Sword song.
Yes.
And then it was but it was mashed up to footage from the intro for some reason, or
the
something
intro
like
and
that.
the ending. Yeah,
it was weird.
Dude, I totally thought that was the legendary mummy bad guy.
Yeah.
He's this undead zombie dude. Because, watching things like Yu Yu Hakusho, it's sure, it's anime, it's Japanese. Of course they're going to do something weird like that. But
yeah.
I didn't understand the context.
Lo and behold, he's a insane burn victim with a god complex. All right, yeah, sure. Why not?
He's got a few chips on his shoulder.
Yeah, just a little. He was, I really liked him and the Jupon Gatana a lot as well.
Yes.
They all had a lot of... even some of the ones that we didn't get to know super well, all of them got some kind of cool out there fight scene. Who is the monk that trains Sanosuke?
Anji.
Anji. Yes. He was super. I loved his super dramatic whole backstory and everything. That was completely
it was
not expecting. In the middle of the arc, here's an episode about Anji. It's okay.
Yeah. It was, and the thing is, I love how Watsuki manages to weave in historical, what do you call that? Facts or things that happen historically into his fiction.
Yeah.
The idea that suddenly, even though Japan is huge on Buddhism, they just put a ban on it and then burned temples to the ground for no reason. And so having a character that actually is built upon that, to me, is really good storytelling from a creative standpoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you see, because I think Kenshin was one of the first shows that got me interested in just the concept of doing storytelling within a historical point.
Yeah, historical fiction. Yeah.
I mean, because obviously, Batosai is we're not even sure if he really existed. Is that the whole kind of deal with him in terms of history?
He's based on an actual assassin who killed someone in one hit in broad daylight and stuff like that.
Yeah. Saito was a real person.
He was a real person.
I remember they there was something, I think ANN did an article about how they found the sole photograph, or maybe it was a painting or something of him.
Of Saito, yeah.
The real Hajime Saito, and I was like, oh, he ain't got the spider leg hair. he's not
a Bishonen? What?
Saito wasn't very pretty necessarily. I think the live action version of him was the prettiest I've ever seen Saito in any depiction of him.
Oh, dude, Really? Because the new Kyoto arc seemed to really just like focus on look at his muscles. He's so attractive.
Oh
isn't
yeah,
he?
well yeah. And also to be fair, I think everybody was a little more beautiful and a little less shonen in that movie. Yeah, to be fair. Yeah, so on Jubon Gatana, I remember was Kirisaki the transgender scythe character?
Oh, I don't remember her name.
His, that they were really cool and hilarious. And then
Kamatari. There we go.
Kamatari,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, Kirisaki. Kirisaki is like, it just means scythe. I'm dumb. And then yeah, Shishio and his like immediate like final boss posse, where it was like
His hype man Hoji.
he and Yumi at least made for some like amusing kind of like extra like okay, now they're actually contributing somehow to this like burning crazy underground shit happening. Sojiro was a character that I really enjoyed a lot.
He's a great character.
I kept kind of losing track of like who he was for a while, because I remember like he was in some of the flashback stuff, and I was like, do you just not age? Are you like Kenshin, where you're just like, I'm constantly 13 all the time forever?
Like, you mean like no, that's a completely different design.
It was a different character. Okay.
Yeah, that's Okita.
Oh, okay.
Who Sojiro is supposed to be based on, so
Right.
Watsuki, what are you doing?
Okay. Yeah, no, because I remember like, because and I think that also, you know what? I know why, because I think his voice changed in the middle of the show, and I think
he had like 3 different voice actors.
No. I realize this now. I think that he had 2 each in both dubs. Because I think that, I think in Samurai X he had a guy and a girl, and then in Kenshin he had two girls. And
3, man.
Was it 3? Really?
Yeah, Sojiro cycled to like 3 actresses,
Oh
I
my
think.
god, that's weird. Yeah. Because I remember Tara Sands was one of them, and I was like, what are you doing in LA? You live in New York. What is Mokuba doing in this show? And now she's back here again. It's cool.
Nice.
But but there was another character that looked like him that was in the flashback stuff, and I felt like, wait, is that him also? He has a ponytail, or is that a different character?
No, I totally understand, man.
Yeah.
It was confusing.
Whoops. Well, okay, I learned something new about the show today. Hooray. But he was cool, and kind of seeing like him crack after a while, because I think that Sojiro was one of the first characters that I'd seen in any show that was like that kind of like, I am a soldier and I'm completely just one note on purpose because I've been trained this way before, the
facade.
Yeah, but also before shows that would have like too many characters like that in them, and I'm just like, I can't tell the personality between each of you except for what your sword does. Please.
Exactly.
Sorry. I'm a little getting over a cold.
Don't die.
But I think he was a good introduction, because seeing like the way that his fight turned out at the end was like kind of a nice eye-opening. Like, all of these characters are all eventually fallible, and especially in your case, because it's like, you're a kid still. You don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. I love that he just like at the end of the series or that arc, he's just like, I'm gonna go and do some soul searching.
Yeah.
And peace.
Bye.
That's it.
Actual peace, by the way.
Yeah.
I promise.
Promise. Love peace.
God. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's kind of safe to say that, like, the new Kyoto arc is like, it is that part of the show that everybody's just like, this defines this story, I think, more than anything.
Let's not talk about the new Kyoto arc.
Well, I mean, just like not the movie, but like that story in general. The Shishio arc.
Yes.
Is like, that's what defines Kenshin, I think, for the most amount of people. When like you think Kenshin, Saito, Shishio, and like,
all the baddies.
And then when Misao comes in and everything. Misao, I hope, was better received by people. I mean, it helps that she's cute.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting seeing like where she landed among like my friends versus like I guess my parents who were watching as well. Like, my friends didn't like her because like, why is she shouting all the time? and my parents were like, oh, she's really cute. I like that.
Yeah. Well, it was funny for a while when like she kept getting. Was she paired up like with Sanosuke, or was it Kenshin that like just it's like the two of them for a little while?
With Kenshin, yeah.
Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's right. And he feels bad about like when he realizes like, she knows Aoshi. Oh God, this is not going to turn out well.
I'm just gonna not talk about that. We're just
like,
gonna be like, hey, isn't it great that we're traveling together?
Yeah. And Aoshi, who like when he popped out, because I didn't think anything of him really. Like he was like when I saw the Oniwaban group, he was like the least interesting of them to me at the time. Right. But then for him being the one to come back, and then suddenly he gets a sensitive side, and it's like he has to almost kind of be this sort of father figure because she's viewing him as a father figure because she ain't got nothing else in that place. It's like, oh, like it. You know, it's funny because I'm seeing that like Kenshin kind of set tones for, you know, it's weird because Dragon Ball seems like the most consistent, like this is the inspiration to all of these other, you know, not even some of the currently running ones, because now like, you know, Taikubo's done and Kishimoto's like semi moving on with Boruto and everything, but you know, a lot of the next generation of Shonen Jump artists after him. And I look at Kenshin because I realize a lot of also those artists weren't they like assistants to Watsuki when he was doing the series?
A few of them, honestly, most of them were assistants to Obata.
Okay. Because I feel like was like the creator of Fairy Tail maybe one of his assistants or something. I could be wrong about that.
Maybe, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, and I remember there's like some bomb that shows up in like the Enishi stuff, and it's like that's literally the Straw Hat flag.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, unabashedly. I don't know if that was like just we're buddies, Oda. There you go, or something.
I think the Shonen Jump mangaka seem to be like, you know, we'll reference each other for laughs and stuff like that. I mean, that happened in Bakuman all the time.
Which, by the way, I'm just gonna put this out here. Next year we need to do a Bakuman Kirblog.
Dude, I would totally do that.
Please, oh my god.
Well, I mean, okay, so I was on a plane, and I was, like, just looking through the movies or whatever, and the Bakuman live-action movie showed up.
Oh, yeah?
And it was weird for me because I had just finished recording the Kenshin movie, and Takeru Sato plays Kenshin and Mashiro.
Oh.
It was really weird.
Oh, no.
Very strange experience. So.
Well, I mean, if Funny happens to get that, I guess I can't be sad. But I'll be sad a little because, oh, God, that show. Cut down at its prime.
We're not going to get that.
Oh, man.
Anyway,
but next year, I promise. Animepril 2018. Michael, I'll drag him back and we'll do a Bakuman one. Maybe by that point, the show will get picked up, right? It's still a shot, guys. Kenshin. Yeah, I guess, okay, this is often how I kind of wrap these. So, if you had to pick like a absolute like your favorite character from the whole thing, would it be Kenshin or would it be somebody else, you think?
I think it would have to be Kenshin.
Yeah.
He is sort of someone to aspire to. You know, he has a very solid moral ground. He understands like his breakdown of Shishio and his men at the end of the Kyoto arc, where he's like, you know, we all fought for what we thought was right. You know, we can't just say they were bad and we were good, because if you think like that, then we're no different from them. And also, he does chores. I need to learn how to do chores.
I need to learn how to cook at all like he does. At least he try. I know he's like, I'm not very good. I'm like, well, yeah, but at least you try, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
I was making the comparison before about like that kind of infallible, like, you know, Goku-esque. I just am this way. This is me forever. But I think what kind of works for Kenshin reminds me of why I specifically like Superman in Justice League, and not Superman usually in Superman stories.
Right.
When you have a character who's like, I am super powerful and really, really good at what I do, and I probably will never be defeated. But I have such a strong sense of justice and such care about the safety of other people, and particularly the next generation of people that are growing up as the world changes around me, that I want to use what it is that I can do for helping everybody else but me. Like, he's such a selfless, like, you know, like, genuinely, you see him, like, I used to be the scum of the earth. I used to be a killer.
Yep.
And I have somehow, through some incredible, you know, feats of you know, self-realization, have completely changed the person that I am to be not only a decent person, but a really, really good person. And seeing, like, again, after that's already done, and you're picking up on, like, you know, because, like, even in the very beginning, Kaoru's like, look, that's great, and I'm sorry that you went through that, but I don't know the killer. I know the hapless, crazy wanderer guy who helped me out of the goodness of his own heart.
Right.
You know, like, that's something even, like, you know, as far as you know, I've never killed a man, but I mean, but on some kind of level, I really relate to that. I think that there is something very relatable about, like, I'm starting my life completely over. I want a fresh start, and I want to use this opportunity to, you know, and then, you know, the fact that, like, oh great, my past life is coming back to bite me in the ass, and now I have to deal with that and protect these people. It's like, oh no.
Well, one of the cool things about you haven't seen the last 2 live action movies?
Not yet. I am waiting for the English releases of those.
They do a really good job of humanizing that part of him. He was talking about how after killing so many people, you know, he was haunted by these things, and he actually started drinking, and he said that it didn't bring him any relief because it just tasted like blood. Everything, like, he washed his hands, he couldn't rinse the blood off his hands. All he tasted was blood. It was just death around him. And combining that with the director's cut of one of the OVAs, it actually shows what happened when he was wandering for those 10 years, when he just said, I'm gonna stop killing. I'm just gonna travel. I'm gonna wander. And in that time, they showed him going to the houses of the people that he killed, like the families, visiting those families and paying his respects. And sometimes he'd be welcomed in and was able to pay his respects, or other times he'd be turned away, and they said, please, never come back again. And that sets such, like, amazing context for his character of, like, can you imagine being responsible for these deaths, wanting to atone, wanting to say you're sorry, and sometimes not even being given the opportunity to do so. And so in that aspect, I feel like Kenshin, where he is when you see him in episode 1, is like he has somehow found something. You know, like he's gotten out of that rut of, will I ever be forgiven? And this is his new step in life. And we get to see all the good stuff, you know, from, like, episode 1 all the way to the end.
And having somebody like, not even just Kaoru by herself. Certainly, she's the biggest pinnacle of, like, keeping him grounded. Because I never forgot one of my favorite scenes is, speaking of the Saito fight earlier, when he nearly dips back into Batosai territory again, and she's like, "You better not." And he's like, "You're right. I shouldn't. Thank you. I needed that because that would have been bad." Yeah, I kind of want to even just rewatch that episode again after we're done.
Dude, it's so good.
Oh my god. Yeah, and I mean, you know, and getting to that point too, where it's like, okay, this is what I'm capable of doing to make up for this, and I have to live with what I've done for the rest of my life. I have to live with the consequences of, you know, what I can do to fix this and what I cannot do to fix this, which I think is also kind of what I think that kind of sensibly sets the stage for why, when, you know, he sees Kaoru as a teacher of, and, you know, and his whole thing about how, like, you know, the Kamiya style is this kind of lofty, like, naive, childish kind of thing, but he's like, yeah, but honestly, we need more of that in life.
Exactly.
Life is so dark and dreary, and it sucks that we could stand to have just a little more naive positivity, even if, like, you know, and maybe someday that will be reality.
Yeah, maybe that will be the truth.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it.
So good. So I guess a good segue, bringing up the other movies. So I've been waiting for the English releases to come out. So I'm assuming it's not necessarily NDA to say that you guys are working on those. You know,
we're done with them. It's out.
Oh wait, are all 3 of them out?
Yep.
What? What? I haven't found the other 2. Really?
Yeah, they're out on DVD and Blu-ray.
Oh my god. Wait, so the other 2 are the Shishio arc, right?
Yes.
Oh, who's Shishio? I'm curious.
Ooh. Hey, I've got permission to talk about this. Shishio is being voiced by David Wald. He played Shishio in the new Kyoto arc. Yeah. It was actually kind of cool. In the first movie, Zach Bolton directed this, and he cast it.
Okay.
And then the second and third movies were done by his then engineer, who is now a director at Funimation, Chris George.
Oh yes, Chris George.
And he actually brought me in, and we like brainstormed for a little while about the casting for the next few movies.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like I actually fought for David to play Shishio.
Oh, that's great. Well, I mean, he does have that David Lucas type sound.
David
to him.
Lucas, yes. And see, and that's another thing that I know has come up. They wanted the original cast, but given our time constraints and also, union and complicated things that come with
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
What? Honestly, I think that also with how, like for instance, like I was talking about Saito. Saito seems like skewed a little bit younger. Like Rob McCollum was like perfect casting on that. Like I think that with this iteration, I can accept like, you know what? I'm open to a different cast. There have been different casts before of this property anyway. That's fine. I love consistency certainly, but I think in this case it's like whatever.
Mm-hmm. Because the live action versions are in some ways very different from who they are. Like for example, like if there were an anime of this thing, I think that the actors would be different.
Yeah.
But since we played to the live action version, the cast that we have, I'm very happy with actually.
I'm curious then if now it is okay to talk about. Can you mention who some of the other ones are? Because I'm curious.
And I know some people have asked before, and I wasn't sure if I could talk about it, but I specifically asked right before we did this, just in case.
Excellent. Very cool.
Who do you want to know?
Who are some of the other major ones that pop up in the other two?
Sojiro, you'll like this, and I know I love it. I kind of threw his name in the ring, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. Justin Briner is voicing Sojiro, and no kidding, he is so good. He plays the happy, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Himura kind of thing,
Yep.
And then like when he snaps, it's so good.
Yeah,
like,
I'll
he's
bet.
phenomenal in that role. Let's see, Alex Organ is playing Aoshi, and he does it extremely well.
I have become like a big fan. I've never met him before, but I've become a big fan of his stuff in the last few years. He's phenomenal.
He plays the stoic. I mean, for a guy whose only line in the second movie is "Where's the Batosai?" he plays it extremely well. Brittany Karbowski is Misao.
Of course.
Beautiful performance. She's so cute in that role. Let's see who else is there. Christopher Sabat voices Hiko Seijiro, Kenshin's master.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's
and
really
he
good.
is fantastic. Like when you watch that, it's great.
Hold on. I have to ask. Was that one were you being clever because the Richard Epcar?
No, that wasn't actually
really.
That was totally on Chubbs. Yeah.
Oh, that's a happy coincidence then.
Yes,
actually.
very much so. But man, he just milks that role. He knows what it's about.
Oh my god, I feel so dumb. I would have watched all three of them before this if I had known that. Oh well, now I have extra reason to want to go grab them right now. Cool. Well, I'll have a link to. I'm sure they're probably on the Funimation store or something. I will have a link to those in the description. So so Kenshin is great. Awesome. Yay. Mike, thank you for joining. This is really cool.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I guess real quick. Well, I guess because I know you're kind of pulling back a little bit on how many shows you're doing as of late, because I know that you've been working a lot more on your comic, from what I hear. But please give all of the stuff that you're doing at the moment a plug, because I would love to share it with everybody out there.
Sure, yeah. I just the season before this one, I was voicing Kakeru in Orange, Yuri Plusetsky in Yuri on Ice, and Arata in Real Life. I was just recently announced as Akito Hyuga in the new Code Geass OVAs that are coming out. Mm-hmm. And got some other things in the works that I can't talk about.
I hear maybe
Dragon Ball Super.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was about to tease at him, just like not that people don't already know, but...
I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I'm totally going to be coming back for Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, that's soonish. That might be like May or June, I think, is when those episodes are going to air. Yeah. Yeah, you'll actually get to do more than just die horribly.
But hey, I'm good at dying.
Cool. And your art and stuff, please.
Well, I mean, I'm just posting artwork. I'm currently working on getting my webcomic back called Ties That Bind. Hopefully within the year, you'll see more stuff about that. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Excellent. You're on what, like DA and Tumblr or anything like that?
DeviantArt, no, not Tumblr.
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just look for My Ocean Eyes, M-A-I Ocean Eyes.
Cool. Well, I will link to all that. Thank you again.
Thank you, man. I
You're the best.
appreciate it.
Excellent. All right, in the comments below, everybody, please tell us your thoughts, memories, hopes, dreams, aspirations, favorite characters, favorite moments, favorite things about Rurouni Kenshin and or Samurai X, if that's what you know it as.
Yes.
And actually, any Samurai X fans, I'm curious for some stories about that era, if that's what you grew up on, for some different perspective, because I don't know anybody else that has. And if you have not checked out the trilogy of new Kenshin live-action movies, please be sure to check those out. I'll have links to where you can pick them up on Blu-ray in the description as well. That's it for now, and we will catch you on next time. Fare thee well.
And if Conrad Takeda is your favorite character, who are you?
Get out!